because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro.
No. It's with me, Matt Ohayon.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. 8.6 beer. Intense by nature. And Locage. If the last time you went to Locage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to Locage. It's gonna be sick.
Good Friday evening, Montreal and Montreal Canadiens fans. I am Matt Ohayon. Tony Marinaro is off tonight, so you know what that means. Italian Stallion out, Hebrew Hammer in. Speaking of the Hebrew Hammer, you may have seen a tweet about our sick picks last week. It was largely popular, especially amongst my friends, because not to toot my own horn, but I went 5-0. So the return of sick picks will be back within the last 10 minutes of the podcast. So stick around for that, as the Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. They are a leading and full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. What a week it was for the Montreal Canadiens. Kind of an odd one, and it wraps up tomorrow when they take on the Pittsburgh Penguins from the Bell Center. So we're going to talk Habs, as we always do to start off the show, and we bring in, from Habs Eyes on the Prize, Andrew Zadarnowski. Andrew, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Yourself, Matt? I see my camera's not working.
Listen, these things happen when you do a live podcast. It's all good. So I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. So Hebrew Hammer, I'm the Polish Prince. It's good that we all have like little nicknames kicking around.
Yeah, that's it. All right, perfect. So Polish Prince, I like that. All right, so Andrew, it's an interesting week for the Canadiens. And I say interesting because, heading into this week, they're on a 3-game losing streak. And they travel into Detroit, which is not typically the kindest arena and the kindest city to the Canadiens in recent past. And I mean, they're able to eke out the win. A lot of people found it a pretty entertaining game. I had a little bit of a different view on it than Tony did when we spoke on Tuesday. I'm curious to get your thoughts on what you made of that game.
Well, like you said, Detroit hasn't always been the most favorable for the Montreal Canadiens in terms of arenas that they visit. But they managed to hang in there. And I think what we ended up seeing in that game is sort of the solidification of that top line chemistry between Suzuki, Caulfield, and Kirby Dach. Now, Kirby Dach, there's been a lot of question marks around where he fits into the lineup. Is he a center? Is he a winger? I mean, my personal opinion is that he fits wherever he works. And right now we see him working on the top line with Nick Suzuki and with Cole Caulfield. And the three of them really, they're driving this team right now, a team that's, people had very little expectations of. But, the good news is that the young kids, the next core, the next generation is taking the lead for the Montreal Canadiens right now. And I think we saw that in that shootout win against Detroit.
Yeah, and I'm happy you brought up two things. You brought up Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, and you brought up Kirby Dach, because those are all things I wrote down before. Naturally, as you said, they lead the Canadiens in almost every category, so I'm doing something right. So let's start on that Tuesday night game. Interesting because, like you said, they're able to hang around. A lot of people said very, very good win by the Canadiens. I saw it a little differently. I really didn't like their game in the first period. Kind of expected, as we both know, Detroit, not the best city that the Canadiens play in. They don't usually have their best performances there. But really, Jake Allen was just, it's been, other than Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki, the story of the season. And the reason why I say that is because Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki get all the love, scoring 17 out of the Canadiens' 42 goals. And this I had to calculate in advance. 40.5% of their goals are coming off those two sticks. So with that, we see Kirby Dach on the wing. Now, I kind of find it fitting. I don't know how you see this. I find it fitting that you say that Kirby Dach works best wherever he plays, because when he's brought in, everyone's saying, "Oh my God, the Canadiens have their second line center. That's it. They did it." And now we see him on the wing. So, and I kind of just feel like that's how things have gone under Martin St. Louis. Go with the flow. We know they don't do structured plays. We know they work off concepts. I don't know. I mean, I just think I'm really happy for Kirby Dach, because I felt like he was getting a lot of, what's the best way I could put this? Unmerited flack heading into this season. So, I mean, how do you see it?
Well, Kirby Dach, I mean, obviously, there's always the specter, and I'm going to go back a few years here, the specter of trading Mikhail Sergachev for Jonathan Drouin, right. and the sort of that kind of the stink from that trade that kind of lingered because of this indirect Alexander Romanov for Kirby Dach trade. And I think, the fans generally have been sort of conditioned to be negative towards these sort of trading a top prospect defenseman for a potential center or some kind of, maybe a top six forward. And I think that's where the initial feelings were for Kirby Dach, in that they, the Canadiens traded a fan favorite in Alexander Romanov to acquire him. And he wasn't really, being a big deal. To say that, the Canadiens acquired their second line center, well, that's an unknown. He played center. He was center in junior, but I'm very much a believer in players develop, and they develop chemistry, and they develop sort of, once they get into pro, they develop strengths and weaknesses. And as we've seen with a lot of players, some, work better on the wing than their predestined center position. And I think Kirby Dach right now, I'm not saying he's going to be a winger for life, but right now in his development curve, it's important to, to keep his confidence up, not knock his confidence. So play him somewhere where he's comfortable. And it just so happens to his benefit that he's comfortable playing on the top line with two of the, the stars of the Montreal Canadiens, the next core. And that augurs very well for him for his first future. And maybe he will become that second line center down the line. But for now, he's in a position to develop while succeeding. And that's, I think we haven't seen a lot of young Canadian prospects develop in a successful way in many years.
Mm-hmm. And, it's funny you say the specter of trading a defenseman for not necessarily a failed third overall pick. It's kind of hard to deem someone a failure at 21 years old. But I'll take it a step further of, you see Alex Galchenyuk get drafted third overall, and then he starts off his career on the wing, and everyone's kind of thinking, even before he gets started, oh, here we go. Mm-hmm. So I just find it so interesting in the way that, the players are kind of, they're put into different situations. They're it feels like they're kind of being all-purpose tools when they can't find a solidified spot in the roster, and solidifying them, cementing them as that second line center, as many people thought. And so he's working really well with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield. And that's been a problem. One of the, small problems for the Canadiens this year is they haven't been able to solidify that third guy to play with them. It seems like they just have. So in your view, what in his game is making him so successful with those two guys?
Tough to say. I mean, it's hard to quantify or qualify chemistry. Mm-hmm. And I think what we're seeing is sort of a natural understanding of where each one's going to be on the ice, a natural kind of coming together of what these players, expect from one another on a line. I'm definitely not an expert in quantifying chemistry, but whatever chemistry is, whatever that whole notion of players having chemistry is, I think these players have it. I mean, a lot of people were talking that they wanted to see Uri Slavkovsky as that third player on that line, and it I think they had a chance for one game, but it didn't feel natural. It still felt forced. It still felt like Slavkovsky wasn't ready to be in that position. Whereas Kirby Dach, who who had question marks around him all season thus far, has seemingly left those question marks behind. He's proven sort of the naysayers that he's capable of playing on a top line, but it's not necessarily at center, but it is with the top line of the Montreal Canadiens, and just that line alone is now beating the prognosticators, what people are expecting this team to be. They're expecting this team to be awful, and they were expecting the Montreal Canadiens to kind of develop at their usual pace of having top prospects playing on the fourth line on the wing, and we're seeing something different this year where a guy like Kirby Dach is able to not just play on the top line, but hang with the top line with the top lines of other teams.
Yeah. So I like what you said there, and we're going to pick up on it just after this. The Sick Podcast also brought to you by 8.6 Beer, intense by nature, the beer for those who follow their instinct and live their passions in order to make their mark. Okay. So, we're both not chemistry experts. We both, I don't know. I haven't done.
It was my worst subject in high school.
Well, it's funny you say that. I failed science pretty bad in Sec 3, or in grade 9, rather. To my knowledge, you haven't played in the NHL, correct?
Correct. I have not played any games in the NHL. Yes.
Right. Perfect. Okay. So we're in the same boat here. But it looks like, because you watch Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield play, the chemistry is just, it's so blatantly obvious there. And it was there from the get-go of this season, probably even into last season. You look at last season, it was there, and they're playing with such an elevated sense of confidence. It's just, you've probably been watching hockey more than longer than I have. So is putting a guy who, I don't want to say he was struggling, because he was still putting up a couple numbers here and there, but putting a guy in that position, especially a young player, it kind of feels like you're putting him under good pressure. There's good pressure and bad pressure. And it felt like they put him under good pressure. And that's just, it seems like it's a great quality to have if you could relish that opportunity.
One of the major things in the NHL to be a top line player is you must rise to the occasion. There's a lot of players that are put in positions like that, and they crumble under the pressure. They're not able to handle it. Not to pick on Jonathan Drouin, but just fresh in my mind in terms of comparables. When he joined the Montreal Canadiens, they anointed him as their top line center, and that season was a disaster because Drouin was not the right person for that role. He was not ready for that role. He wasn't suitable for that role. All negatives, obviously. Someone like Suzuki, I was worried about the same thing. Is he going to be able to handle the pressure? Is that something that he's able? Is he ready for? Where is he in his development track? And sure enough, he's proven. I wouldn't say proven me wrong, because I wasn't saying he couldn't do it, but he's definitely proven himself in that role, that he's capable of being at the top line center for the Montreal Canadiens. And in terms of Cole Caulfield, I also had concerns about playing two young guys on the same line together. Do you keep them on the same line? Do you split them up? Do you put veterans on the lines with them to kind of show them along? What they did is just they took the two best young prospects they had, put them on a line together, and just went to see what happens. And what happens is magic. It's success. What's happening with them is you have a successful combination on the top line for the Montreal Canadiens, and as a result of not just that, but a lot of people said the Montreal Canadiens were going to be at the bottom of the league this year again. I never saw it that way, because they weren't the worst team last year either, just had a terrible string of bad luck. So I think this season overall, we're going to see Montreal do way better than expected, but it'll be towards the middle of the pack.
So I guess the next question naturally is, can you see that falling off? Because they're doing well, they're performing above expectations. They are a middle of the pack team right now. There's no debating that, but I get the sense, and this is based off no inside information, obviously, but it just feels like, with the way that Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes spoke since the moment they came in, that it kind of doesn't matter if they're exceeding expectations this year. They're going to stay the course of what they want to do. And what I mean by that is, at least I see it this way, I'm curious to get your thoughts, is that they're still going to deal a Mike Hoffman if they get the chance. They're still going to deal Evgeny Dadonov if they have the chance. They're still going to deal Sean Monahan and kind of put this team in a position, not intentionally, but they're going to, the political way of saying it is, they're going to give the younger guys a chance by moving bodies out. But, we could call it how it is. They're going to put this team in a position to improve their draft pick and lose games. I don't know. I feel like even by deadline, if they're still middle of the pack, they're still going to stay that course.
I mean, a couple of things there. First of all, they're definitely going to be looking at trading out several veteran forwards. There's no doubt about it. That's part of the plan. It makes perfect sense. What's important for me right now is that this team is that a guy like Mike Hoffman or Evgeny Dadonov are not leading the team in scoring. For me, what's important is that's guys like Caulfield and Suzuki and Kirby Dach that are up there. Guys like Cade and Gooley who are contributing to the offense as well. I believe Gooley is a top point producing defenseman. I'm pretty sure, maybe close to Savard as well. But people talk about tanking for the future. Well, I would be talking about tanking for the future and trading off assets as fast as possible if it was the David Savards and that Mike Hoffman's leading the team in scoring. But what we're seeing is that we're seeing the youth that's in place leading the team now. So is there a need to tank? Is there a need to try to bottom out this team? I don't think so. I think in that sense, the team is already bottomed out and they're kind of working their way up. So the dreams of drafting a Connor Bedard this year, they're not going to happen. It's not going to happen unless they win the what do you call it then? The
lottery.
The draft lottery. Thank you.
Draft lottery. There you go.
It's at the tip of my tongue. That's the only way they're getting into Bedard territory is if they win the lottery. But they're not a bottom feeding team. Definitely trading off those assets like Dadonov and maybe Drouin, definitely in the books. But what's their value right now? I'm happy that the youngsters are leading the charge, but at the same time, we're not seeing that kind of secondary scoring from Hoffman or Drouin or Dadonov or Sean Monahan to make them an attractive pickup at the trade deadline. So I think that's a bigger problem for Gorton Hughes is that these guys that they're going to be looking to trade assets for aren't worth very much right now, and to me that's a bigger concern than where they're going to be drafting, what position they're going to be drafting.
Yeah, I'm going to agree on most of the points, but I'm going to disagree with one because I had this thought, especially after watching Hoffman kind of break his slump. I'm not going to say he's back and he's going to score 30 goals this year.
He's back, baby.
Yeah, that's it. He's back. Fire it up. No, but the way I see Hoffman, he's an interesting one because we know he's pretty one-dimensional. You get him for goals and you get him for the power play. If you're asking him to play defense, you're probably not doing your job properly. It's just, I find the game against Detroit highlighted something to me that, other teams are watching the Canadiens because they know they're going to be selling off assets at one point. And you look at a guy like Hoffman who doesn't really provide much other than scoring, as we said. And I don't know, I feel like teams can feel like they can put him in a position where he can play with two top guys and, just throw him out there when they need him. Canadians retain some salary. And, if you have a better supporting cast around him, they'll feed him the puck and he'll do what he does best, which is put the puck in the back of the net. It's kind of how I see it. I mean, is that inflated because of his last two games having 3 goals? Probably, but I don't know. I feel like he has more value than people are giving him credit for.
And that's fair. I mean, GMs are not going to judge a player by his most recent game. They're going to judge him by sort of his track record over several seasons. So in that sense, I think GMs know what they're going to get in a Mike Hoffman. They know what they're going to get in Evgeny Dadonov. And I mean, there's no secrets on these guys anymore. These guys have been in the league for several years and their value is known and their value to the team is well known. If anything, if these guys are underperforming, GMs are going to try to, bid low with Kent Hughes and try to get a deal. And I don't know if Kent Hughes will have much of a of a bargaining position if these players aren't performing. So it's all debatable. Obviously, it's all kind of, there's certain pros and cons to the debate. We know they're going to be gone at one point or another. You can't trade off all the veterans. Obviously, you have to surround the rookies and the young players with some veteran presence, with some kind of wisdom and aged wisdom. That's why a guy like Brendan Gallagher will be around. I don't see him going anywhere unless he requests a trade out of the city, which I don't think he will. But then there's the question of all the other ones. Jonathan Drouin has always talked about wanting to stay in Montreal. He's not producing points right now, but that's probably because he's been put into a different role on the team right now as an aged veteran who they need as a steady presence versus putting the pressure on him to produce points. Maybe he's happier right now. Maybe he's doing exactly what the coach is asking him to do. So, there's going to be certain players like that will stay with the team for the foreseeable future. But other players like, maybe Armia is a guy that may find a new destination by the end of the season. We'll see. It's all very interesting. I'm especially interested with Joel Edmondson and Mike Matheson to see if they finish the season in Montreal, or a guy like David Savard as well. Will he finish the season in Montreal? You can't just have rookie defensemen.
You're right. But talk about veterans. You leading the charge there. David Savard, what a season. I mean, I think, through 14 games this year, I've turned into his biggest fan. Seriously. I mean, just with the expectation of what this team was supposed to be, and going out there every night and putting your body on the line and block shots. I will argue till the end that it's more of a characteristic of someone, less so than a statistic, because you're literally putting your body on the line when you don't really have to. It's just unbelievable to see what he's been doing and leading by example in that way. You said the word rookie, piqued my interest because it's not all sunshine and daisies. I want to get your take on this, the Uri Slavkovsky hit. I think the refs got it right. 5 in a game for sure. Hit him in the numbers. That's what happens. The 2-game suspension, I was super surprised by. I mean, because I said he's not going to get suspended, and if he does, worst case scenario, it's 1 game. Just curious to know if you saw it the same way.
I mean, spin the wheel of justice, right? How many games is he going to get? 0 or 10? I have a hard time finding any sort of pattern with how players are suspended or not suspended. If anything, maybe they're trying to set a precedent. Maybe they're trying to draw a bit of a harder line against players. But compare the hit that Uri Slavkovsky gave and the hit that Uri Slavkovsky took several games back. They looked very similar to me. One led to an injury, an unfortunate injury, and a suspension. The other one just, a little bit of a scrum afterwards, and nothing else happened. It just seems to me, I don't know. I can't debate suspensions, honestly. Right. I don't like seeing people hurt. So if that's going to set a precedent for more safety on the ice for players, then I'm all for it. It's just unfortunate that in Uri Slavkovsky's 10th game, when his entry-level contract kicks in, right off the bat, he's donating to the player assistance fund. It
kind of, the only thing that annoyed me, because again, I'll say it, the refs got it right. He hit him in the numbers and it was a dangerous play. The only thing I will say is what you said. You compare the 2 hits, kind of look the same, and the precedent, I like setting the precedent for player safety. What I don't like is the precedent being, okay, he got hurt on the play, so we're going to hand him a suspension. It's kind of like the 4-minute for drawing blood penalty. That's all. That's the way I see it.
If the player wasn't injured, would it be a different result? I don't know. You're right. I don't like the injury determining the severity of the punishment. I think the act itself should be, the act itself should be judged, and not the what the act causes.
Right. So if I'm not mistaken, we're going to move on to a different team, one that you do keep your eye on, the Laval Rocket.
Yep.
Because a question came in, and I'm certainly not qualified to answer this, but I feel like you might be because you keep a close eye on them, is JF Wool in Laval is not a Hughes hire. This comes from Nicholas McKeegan, by the way. So yeah, JF Wool is in Laval, not a Hughes hire. He seems to be playing more vets than prospects. Do you think he's on the hot seat if he keeps trying to win instead of focusing on player development? And, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because if he is focusing on winning, yeah, they won in overtime today, but kind of off to a slow start, the Laval Rocket are.
They're off to a slow start, and I'll tell you what, I don't necessarily agree with that statement or what he's saying there. A guy like Xavier Simoneau, he's playing top line right now through merit. He worked his way up from like fourth line or whatever it was to start the season to playing on the top line, and fully earned via merit. A guy like Raphael Harvey-Pinard, he's playing the top six as well. The guys that deserve to be there are there. The guys that don't deserve there are not there. Sure, at the beginning of the season, you're going to start your veterans on the top six and kind of see how things go. Maybe that's what he's referring to. But, you have Gabriel Bourque. He's playing on the fourth line. A guy like Jan Mysak, he doesn't deserve to play in the top six right now based on the way he's playing in the bottom six. So, you can't just play prospects on the top six because they're your prospects. There has to be a sort of I'm not going to pronounce that word right.
Meritocracy. It's Friday night. Don't worry about it.
That's the one.
Meritocracy.
There has to be that system in place where players earn the minutes, and if you're a veteran or you're a rookie, whatever, you got to earn it. And that's the way I see the Laval Rocket. Like Alex Belzil, he is the steady presence. So I wouldn't take too many minutes away from him. He's a team captain for a reason. But like I said, Xavier Simoneau is a perfect example of, you play well, you're going to earn your minutes. Peter Abandonado, he's earning his minutes with the Laval Rocket as well. He was, signed from the Lions. He played with the Lions last season, made his way up to the Rocket, and he's kind of working his way up as well. We saw Rem Pitlick today play on the top line, and he did very well for the Laval Rocket. A guy who just came down, you're not going to bump him down to bottom six. You want to keep his confidence up and give him that top line position, and he earned it. He got 2 points, almost scored the winning goal as well. He played an excellent game on that top line with Xavier Simoneau. So it's definitely I'll just go back to that question. I don't agree with that statement. It's not what's happening. But some youngsters or rookies or prospects are not playing minutes because they haven't proven themselves yet.
Well, there you go. There's the answer to that. So I guess naturally the next question would be, who are you most excited to see from Laval? When the injuries inevitably happen, when bodies start, being shipped out, who are you excited to see don the Canadiens jersey and get a shot?
Well, for me, the one guy I want to see at the NHL now is in a make or break year is Jesse Ylönen. I think he has an excellent shot. His shot is NHL caliber. There's other parts of his game that still need some development, or at least need to improve on. If he doesn't get a call up to the NHL this year, it's one of those kind of if he's not there, he won't be there kind of situations. So if there isn't very many scoring prospects in the AHL for the Montreal Canadiens. So what you really want is basically to see if Jesse Ylönen as a scoring prospect can hack it in the NHL. Besides that, Raphael Harvey-Pinard is another guy who's definitely going to play in the NHL this year. He's that kind of character player that he'll fit in easily on a fourth line and work his way up at the NHL level. So between those are the two guys that I would keep my eye on. There's obviously Justin Barron, who got a lot of attention because he was acquired by Kent Hughes last year for Arturi Lehkonen. From what I'm seeing, he made a brilliant pass for the winning goal today, by the way. If anyone catches the replays, you'll see just absolute laser tape to tape for the winning goal. But he still makes a lot of mistakes. So I don't, Justin Barron, it wouldn't necessarily be my first call up from Laval. Corey Schwinneman, he's a known commodity at the NHL level. He's not a guy that's going to be in your top 4, but he's a guy who can play your bottom pairing and what you'll get. So, in terms of who would get the first call on defense, it'd be Corey Schwinneman, not Justin Barron. Justin Barron can use a whole year in Laval. Otto Leskinen is another guy we don't talk much about. He came back to the organization this year. He might sneak into the conversation as well.
Yeah, and I think it's we're running short on time, so I could talk prospects all day, and I know you can too. So
Sorry.
It's great, and it's great stuff because I'm really excited. That's one name I'm super excited about is Justin Barron, and I think the Habs they really got a good one in him in that trade. That was some unbelievable work by both GMs, frankly, because Colorado won the Cup. They did so off the hands of Arturi Lehkonen, had a big hand in that. So, Andrew, I want to thank you for your time on this Friday night. So where can everyone find your work?
These days, well, first of all, the website's Habs Eyes on the Prize. I usually hang around there. Not a main contributor these days, but that's kind of where I hang my hat. And on Twitter at Zadarnowski, however you want to pronounce it. That's where I am. And if anyone's interested, 514 shirts. It's a little side thing I got going.
All right.
Yeah. So that's where you can find me more or less.
All right, perfect. So I want to thank you, Polish Prince, and have a great rest of your evening and have a great night.
Hebrew Hammer, it's been a pleasure.
All right, that's Andrew Zadarnowski. So that was Habs Talk. It's Friday. You know what that means. Hit it.
TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. It's also football with Matt Ohayon.
Burrow hooks a pass, wide open, Chase, touchdown, Bengals.
That's right. Thank God it's football. Wow, what a week for me as a Bengals fan. Just crazy, the bounce back they had. And Joe Mixon, I could talk about his day last Sunday forever. But we're going to talk about this coming week. But first, the Sick Podcast brought to you by La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you go back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you. And to talk football, we bring in from the Sick Podcast from Detroit Beastie, a.k.a. Chris Robin. Chris, thank you for joining the show.
Thank God it's Friday. And while you were talking hockey, I could talk hockey all day. I was on with Tony, I believe, Tuesday. And for that simple fact, I think my Q rating actually has gone up in Canada just from one broadcast with Tony, on his Sick Podcast. So this is what my forte, what I mean? Football. And to be fair, hockey DFS, which I don't know how much, you guys, shuffle with that. But I'm happy. TGIF, as you said.
Yeah, TGIF indeed. Let's take a look at this Sunday slate because as you are a DFS expert, I'm sure you also are, you'll place $1 or $2 down on some games, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I do. And if anybody cares, I don't want to bring the thing to a screeching halt, but I have betting leans. I don't know if I could zoom in or if this is professional, but I have every game. I have every game and like 3 or 4 betting trends on each game, and I have a betting, a betting lean for each game. So this is just a lock and load every week to me. So I'm just happy that you're going to have me on in the Sick Podcast, folks, here because I could finally, use 100% of my notes rather than just dribbing and drabbing on social media through the week.
Well, perfect, because just to let you know, we're under some pressure because last week I gave my sick picks and I ended up going 5-0. So I look like a genius right now. So we got to keep that going. And, I'm going to give those at the end of the episode. But what I want to bounce off of you right off the bat, this line, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I want to see if it makes sense to you is, Seattle traveling technically to Tampa Bay. They're really traveling to Germany. And, Tampa Bay, considered the home team. Seattle, 2.5-point dogs to the Tampa Bay Bucks. I mean, I can't make any sense of it. Can you?
No, well, I can a little bit. When everything was, let's say, Sunday, a week ago past Sunday, and even into Monday, when Vegas comes out with the betting lines, and to be fair, they're very good at what they do. When this thing opened, Seattle was getting 1.5 points, and that's how much this thing has shifted from last Sunday or Monday all the way to Friday where we are now. So as we go into Sunday in Hamburg, Germany, that one kicks off at like 9:30 a.m. Eastern time here. In Detroit. So to be fair, in all my years of sports betting, I could probably count on one hand, maybe two, the way the line has shifted that much. Normally you get an over under, they shave a point, they add a point, or they, plus minus, but by then it's just a pick 'em. This team was +1, now they're -1, now it's even. So the line movement here, Seattle was +1, and now their minus points tells you all you need to know. And when you look at this one here, I actually starred some of this stuff because Seattle Tampa Bay is very interesting to me, given the fact that it's in Hamburg that early in the morning. It's probably going to be all hands off, but I have no problem telling people what to do with their money, not mine, right? But when you look at the Seattle 4-0 against the spread, their last 4 games, the over has hit in 4 of Seattle's last 7. Tampa Bay has been bad news against the spread, 0-6-1 their last 7 games against the spread, and the under has hit in Tampa Bay's 4 of last 5 games. I have Seattle to not just run away with this thing, but I have Seattle to win this one 24-20. So you could take whatever point side you want. Seattle's going to win this one outright. And there goes Tom Brady, unfortunately, back into the toilet. I mean, I like the guy, but in terms of football and winning in the college he went to, but to me, everything is just pointing away from Tampa Bay. So give me Seattle, Geno Smith and Kenny Walker. Who would have thought?
Okay, so I'm happy you got the betting trends because I got a stat for you, and I'm excited to throw this one at you. So we're going to take a look at New Orleans at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh 1.5 point dogs to the Saints. I mean, it's kind of weird for me as a Bengals fan to be all over the Pittsburgh Steelers in this week, but I mean, Mike Tomlin this is the stat for you. Mike Tomlin as a home dog. Are you ready for this one? 15-3-3 against the spread. That is just one of the craziest trends I had ever heard. So, I mean, New Orleans defense is banged up. And, you kind of hope that Pittsburgh could get the running game. I mean, this game screams under to me. But, I mean, I'm taking Pittsburgh on the line purely based off the fact that I think they should be maybe 2-point favorites just because of that banged up defense of New Orleans.
No, you're on the right track. You are absolutely on the right track. And I think this game, it's perfect. If you need like that, a kicker, right? If you're going to parlay, I'll ask you, when you put a parlay together, how many teams? You just 2 or 3 to play safe, or do you go wild and put in a lotto ticket every once in a while?
So depends on the wager I'm throwing. Depends on the wager, but if I'm throwing a full unit or two, I'll usually just go 2 teams. I'll go 2.
Beautiful. Well, what I'm telling you to do, and I'm actually going to do this, right? I said earlier that, but I would never do anything. I would never tell folks to do anything I wouldn't do myself. I think actually Pittsburgh wins this one, and everybody's looking New Orleans' way. And when we go to this one, the over/under, it opened at around 41 points. I think they struggle to get to like 35. That's just me. I have Pittsburgh to win this thing like 17-13, 17-14 in a real snoozer, if I may say so. And when you look at some of the regular betting trends, Pittsburgh's 2-4 against the spread their last 6. The under has come in 4-2 their last 6 games. But when you look at the Saints after that, it kind of a laugher last time out for the Saints. We thought they were going to play well, and actually Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, beat them last time out. Andy Dalton couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. So this is a perfect spot to get in Pittsburgh as like a not a teaser, that's Keno, but a teaser or just like a end of your parlay, and that'll boost your thing up. So give me Pittsburgh to win this one. I mean, I'm staying away from this thing from DFS or seasonal formats, but I do like Pittsburgh to win this one. And to be fair, I don't think I've said that out loud yet this week. So if I'm going to get roasted for that, roast me. But Pittsburgh wins this one 17-13.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I just think, and plus the possible addition of TJ Watt is just, that's just shifts it
huge.
So much in my head.
Yeah, huge.
I mean, I as a Bengals fan myself, I am like TJ Watt's biggest fan. I will advocate for calling him the best player in the NFL by far any day of the week. If TJ Watt needs someone to back him up, he could call me, no problem, instead of calling his brother JJ.
Yeah, and in the future, if TJ, needs some new organ or something, I'm sure JJ will doubt, because JJ's going to retire soon. So if unfortunately if TJ's arm gets ripped off, I'm sure JJ Watt would go, here, you could take my arm. It's the same body, same blood, all that. So just probably a failed attempt at a joke, but hey, it's Friday.
No, but I get what you're saying. It's unfortunate when you have a guy like that and his career, not really his career, but you see him miss so much time with injuries, and just, I've never cheered for an injury ever. It's just football is better when the best players are playing, and football is better when TJ Watt is playing, no matter how many headaches he's given me over the years.
When he's on his game, he is one of, if not the best defensive players in the league. He could play linebacker, defensive end. He can blitz. He can drop back in coverage. He is literally a do-it-all kind of defensive player. So I'm glad he'll be back soon.
And just an absolute game breaker. I mean, it's crazy how he could just affect a game. Just every play out there, it seems like he's making an impact. Next game on the docket that I want to talk about. It's a weird one. Because Minnesota, Buffalo, the last number I saw was 3. I saw it at 3 flat. Buffalo are the favorites. Now I have one friend who's a massive Buffalo Bills fan, and we talk football every week. And he was obviously worried the sky's falling. They just lost to the Jets, and now Josh Allen's injured. And I said to him, okay, here's the deal. Sean McDermott is a really good coach, and it's not like he got injured in the last day of practice here. They're probably being mentally prepared to not play with Josh Allen. The defense has been banged up pretty much all season. And frankly, on the other side, I don't like Minnesota. I just don't like them. There's something about them that I'm not a believer. I'm really not a believer. I'm tempted to take Buffalo -3. Talk me into it, talk me out of it. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. Anybody that's watching now, the comment section is always great. Any sick podcast. I've never done one live, but this one and on with Tony, the comments are great, and I have something for you. I don't like Minnesota either, and I'll tell you why. It's pretty simple. I'm in Detroit, NFC North slappy. Yeah. I'm a huge Detroit Lions fan. You can hit any wah sound effects you want, but to me, Minnesota, it's not about the players or their head coach or the organization. The Minnesota Vikings fans are some of the most. I'm going to leave it alone. They will hammer it home. I've seen people shave their heads and get tattoos because they're so in love with Kirk Cousins, but I will say this, from a player standpoint, Kirk gets it done. Kirk is an okay quarterback, but the relentlessness, and they're just irrational, and they're insufferable. That's the word. Minnesota Vikings fans are insufferable. When we look at this one, to be fair, I tweeted out some funny stuff this morning when I was writing and reading about the idea of Case Keenum having to start at quarterback, because last I looked, it is Friday evening, about 20-11 on the Eastern front in Michigan here. Josh Allen was scheduled to practice today. He wasn't there. He didn't no call, no show like a 9-to-5 job like us. Mm-hmm. But you're right. I think they're mentally preparing for Case Keenum to be the quarterback. And when you look back through the length of Case Keenum's career, he's been pretty damn good in relief of a quarterback. Heck, he took Minnesota to an NFC championship game in 2017. On that bomb to Stephon Diggs against the Saints. Yeah. So hit Saints fans, they're going to cry. But when you look at Diggs and Case Keenum, there's history there. And you can't just, that stuff just doesn't die, right? You get in a relationship or you're best friends with someone, that doesn't go away. It's a true blue love or friendly relationship, it's like you pick up like time has never passed. And when we look at Minnesota Buffalo, I'm still running with Buffalo here. I had Buffalo to win this one 31-17, 28-17. And I don't think that changes much. Maybe they lean on Devin Singletary a little bit more, right? He looks for a good bet for some over props and DFS formats. So to me, Josh Allen, right? We talked about TJ Watt. He's a game breaker. Josh Allen is in fact a studly game breaker on offense, but maybe I'm stupid. Maybe you need to hit me in the head with a board here. I still think Buffalo takes care of business, and I don't want to say it's not going to be close or I'm not thinking twice about it, but Buffalo will still move the pieces and get this job done because their head coach and the the way this organization is from the ground up, and the fans, and they've waited for these last few years for a lifetime. And to me, Buffalo will win this one, even with Case Keenum at quarterback. I'm taking Buffalo minus the points. They're going to win let's just call it. I'm not even going to change my final score with Josh or without Josh. Buffalo wins this one 28-17.
I love it. I love it because, and I love that you brought up Case Keenum and Stephon Diggs, because that's what I remember. I was talking to my friend, and I'm letting him know, listen, you're going to be mentally prepared to go into this game with Josh Allen, whether he plays or he doesn't. But if he doesn't, it is the Case Keenum revenge game. And it is the Stephon Diggs revenge game. So I'm happy you said that. We're on the same page there.
I'll try. We should try and fight and disagree on these next few, because we've been very chummy and agreeable. So I'll see what I can do if you want to fight. Sure.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, I think this one we might find a disagreement. I hope we do at least once. Come on, Jacksonville heading to Kansas City. Kansas City 9.5 point underdogs. I'm not going to bet this game because I might do a last minute one, but if I'm going to bet this game, I'm taking Jacksonville with the points. And I'm not teasing it up. I'm taking Jacksonville with the points. With the way that the Chiefs looked against the Titans last week, I wasn't impressed. They were unable to move the ball until, Mahomes turns on flipped on his on switch. And, you might get the Kansas City juggernauts this week. It might happen. But I don't know. Jacksonville, I have full confidence in their offense. Defense, but I think they can hang with him. I think it's open for a backdoor here.
I'm with you. There's two things in this one, and to be fair, I don't hate that call, taking Jacksonville and the points here, but I'm just not going to touch that. The move for me here, the play for me is just, it's simple, easy peasy. Just take the over. I believe it opened at about 50.5 points in a side. I think that might be, that's the highest over under on the slate as of a few days ago. And so to me, Kansas City at Jacksonville, this one screams over 50.5 points. And this one screams just absolute stackability from a DFS perspective, both sides of this thing, right? We can stack up Patrick Mahomes and Juju and then Travis Kelce, and we can run it back with Travis Etienne or Marvin Jones. And then on the flip side, we can stack up Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Marvin Jones, and Evan Ingram. And then the run back would probably be something like Juju or Kelce. So this game, to me, I have this final score 35-24. So we're going to see a ton of points, well over the 50.5. So let's stack this game up in DFS, and I'm taking the over. To me, if you wanted to do that, I could see the case, because right now, the final score is I have Kansas City winning by like 11 points. So if you wanted to tease that to 11.5, 12.5, I think now we're talking. But to me, it's not safe by any means, but it makes more sense for me to bet on the over 50.5 points. And I think we could take that one to the bank, and I'm not kidding.
Okay, let's find one where we could disagree, because you started off your answer by saying I'm right there with you. So let's go here. I mean, it's tough, man. It's a tough slate, because there's games that, they're hard to get a grasp on. These bookmakers, they know what they're doing. Past week 6, they really know what they're doing. It's insanity. So let's talk Cleveland, Miami. Cleveland's 3.5 point dogs. Hesitant to take Cleveland, but very tempted.
To me, this one it's all about Miami. And I think that's pretty clear. And again, in this day and age of professional football and sports betting and all that, you always, like, even when you're playing dice or something at the casino, you ride the hot hand. This guy keeps hitting 7s and 11s. And right now, Miami is just on the fast track to the playoffs, right? With Tua and Hill and Waddle, even Gesicki, you can toss him in there a little bit here. But to me, when you look at Miami and Cleveland, it's in Miami at the Hard Rock Stadium. This one over under 49 total points. Again, I do think Cleveland hangs, but I have Miami to win this one 31-20. Again, another game, back-to-back games here where I love the idea of stacking this whole thing up from a DFS perspective. If you like Cleveland, I'm on Miami. If you want Miami, I can argue Cleveland. I'm sure we'll find one here soon, even if you want me to read one. The Rams playing Stafford and Kyler Murray, I don't know, but but give me Miami to win this one in what should be relatively, not NFL. Nothing comes easy, but to me, Miami will win this one, and then boom, as I said, fast track to the playoffs in the AFC. Well, Miami, really quick, do you think Miami will have a chance to challenge either Buffalo or Kansas City in the AFC when they get to the playoffs? Because we've already marked in Buffalo and Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. Well, Miami's going well. What about us? We're playing well too.
Right. So this is where we're gonna find our disagreement. So I respect Miami. I have to respect them. You got to respect a 6-3 team. There's no doubt about that. However, it seems like they're just eking by every game. They broke a 3-game losing streak against the Steelers, 16-10. It kind of seemed like Tua threw up 5 ducks that could have been intercepted in that game that just weren't. So that's number one. The other thing, the Lions had to lead the entire game. And I know there's arguments to both sides. The good teams will find a way to win. They'll find a way to eke it out and win. And Miami's a good team. Again, last week against Chicago, they only won by 3 in a game that, everyone was saying, Chicago's defense stinks. They got no chance against Tua. And it's just, I have my reservations about the Dolphins, and I'm not prepared to call them, bona fide Super Bowl contenders. But, listen, it's the NFL playoffs. It's one game. Anything could happen. Would I be shocked beyond belief if they did challenge those teams? No. But I'm certainly not expecting it. I just think there's too many concerns for me, notably with Tua, because I want to believe and I want him to succeed. He's such a likable guy, but he's underthrowing a lot. I'm noticing, and he's lucky he's got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and it's just the defense I can't get behind. So there you have it.
The idea behind Tua to me, and if we go back to Chicago, I'll be quick here. I probably got 9 or 10 minutes left here. When you look at Tua what Miami did, they eked by, but Justin Fields set a record for a quarterback rushing yards. They were just eating up time of possession. But when you look at Miami, it's like any play, Waddle or Tua can take it to the house, and you add in the likes of Jeff Wilson Jr., Raheem Mostert. So there is 4, and Gesicki to a certain. I don't know why I've mentioned Gesicki twice, but to a certain extent, he's got a lot of very skilled offensive weapons around him, and that kind of helps, to make up for the lack of the quarterback. To be fair, what if we were to, I know this isn't like a New York sports talk show where we're going to yell and all that, but what if we were to put Jared Goff in this Miami Dolphins offense? Do you think they'd have the same success? And I think so. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Detroit guy and I'm a Jared Goff fan, but you know what I mean? I think there's probably a half dozen in the bottom half of the quarterbacks in the NFL as of right now. If you just plugged them in there, I think Miami would still be having some sort of this success because Waddle and Tyreek Hill are doing a lot of the work, right? And you get 2 guys, Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, to help, kind of patch up, put Band-Aids on the airmail balls from Tua Tagovailoa here. So to me, Miami, when you look at this one, 2 things that stand out: the under in 5 of Cleveland's last 6 games on the road, and the under 4-0 in Miami's last 4 games at home. So where I'm saying over, but everything is pointing recently, everything's pointing to the under, both teams separately.
So we're going to talk a couple more games because there are a few games that, I'm just not interested in, namely the Colts and the Raiders. But you're taking the under. So I want to throw this game at you because this is a game I am smashing the under in, and that's Denver at Tennessee. Tennessee 2.5-point favorites. I mean, this is just, they're probably going to have what percentage can you put Ryan Tannehill out there at his health at 70, 60 against the worst offense in the NFL.
Yeah. So Denver is broken right now.
Yeah. So even if Tannehill doesn't play, I mean, Malik Willis had no completions last week, I think it was, to receivers. This screams to me, a 12-10 win on either side. Just take the under, run. That one's on the house. It's on me and Chris. Thank you very much. You could send us our royalty check in the mail later.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100% on the under, but I think, the over under as it sits right now, last I look, is right around 39 total points. And I have the final score equaling 38 total points. So we might sweat it out, but a good sweat on Sunday that's not a bad thing. And this one does kick off at 1 p.m. So we'll go from there. When we look at Tennessee, I do believe that they win handedly. I think this is going to be one of those games, final score like 24-14. That's your 38. If it's 24-10, now we're even under. And if it's 24-13, we're under a few more points. But this game, the final score, people are going to look at and go, well, you know what? Denver lost by 10, but it's going to be like, well, they caught up late in the fourth quarter. The final score isn't indicative of what actually happened. I think Tennessee absolutely hammers home Derrick Henry. I do think Hilliard gets a few carries, and we go from there. Whoever is the quarterback, whether it's Tanny or Malik Willis, I do believe Tennessee has the horses to really beat up on the Denver Broncos here, which they look broken. I will say this, if we're going to put any sports books player props in, I'm going over on anything and everything Jerry Jeudy. Might sound contradictory, but I do still think one player can have a good game on the opposing team if we're going to go under here. But Jerry Jeudy facing this Tennessee defense, it's like a slam dunk. When you look at Tennessee, 29th overall against opposing wide receivers. So to me, Jerry Jeudy, 7-8 targets, 5 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. So I'm stacking up and I'm using Jerry Jeudy as a one-off in DFS formats. We're taking the under here, and we look for Derrick Henry to just do King Henry stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm right. I'm again right there with you. And you know what? We'll talk about a player prop game that I'm on, because I'm on this heavy, especially because I just got him in my fantasy football league. Saquon Barkley and the New York Giants, 4.5-point favorites to the Houston Texans. I've been thinking about taking the Giants with the points. I can't quite get myself there, but I'm telling you what I am taking. Saquon Barkley over 94.5 rushing yards. Easy. Not even thinking about it twice. Saquon Barkley, anytime touchdown. I'll even up the ante. I'll give you what I actually put money on. Saquon Barkley, 2 or more touchdowns. This Houston defense is horrific against the run. And I don't say that lightly. I said it.
They're dead last. They're 32nd. Last I looked, there's only 32 teams in the league. They're dead last.
Well, I said this 2 weeks ago when I spoke to Andy McNamara of our Sick podcast in Cleveland. I was confidently taking Derrick Henry's overs, 2 touchdowns, and whatever else other prop humanly possible was on Derrick Henry against the Houston Texans, and it happened. So I'm not even thinking about this one twice. Give me Saquon Barkley all day.
Yeah, I'm with you. And when we look at betting, I'm not even going to throw out betting trends. This one is just a slam dunk. You'd have to be a real bozo not to see that Saquon Barkley is going to go absolutely crazy. He is the most expensive priced running back on FanDuel, and I think he's in front. He's behind Christian McCaffrey in terms of player pricing on DraftKings. To me, I'm going to get really overly ambitious with this. It's Friday night. It's 11 o'clock. I should be in bed, but we're having fun here. I think we're looking at Saquon Barkley, 25 carries. And I think, to be fair with you, Matt, we're looking at a floor of 120 rushing yards. I think we have a case here for Saquon Barkley to put up one of those 200 all-purpose yards games, a couple touchdowns. 2 would be cool as well, but 3, where do we go from there? And again, this might be one of those games where if you're playing DFS formats and you don't have Saquon Barkley, your night is over. You're not even going to come close to scratching the money line. That's what you call chalk. He is in your face. You gotta have it. But let's get wild and let's get crazy. Everyone's saying, yeah, Barkley's a great play. Yeah, but who's willing to have the stones to really say what they mean and really, in their mind, their daydreams? Who's ready to say Saquon Barkley has a chance here, a very high chance of going over 200 or more all-purpose yards with a pair of touchdowns? I've already placed that bet. I've teased his over yard. I moved everything around like the shell game, on New York or something like that. So to me, Saquon Barkley at minimum, Matt, 25 carries, 130 yards on the ground, and then we're going to add in another 35 receiving. So to me, Saquon Barkley is the first one in a long time that we can count on just a copious amounts of yardage and a couple touchdowns. Done deal, right? Not kidding.
Right. No, I'm again right there with you. I'll give you another player prop game. LA Chargers against the San Francisco 49ers. I don't see a way the Chargers move the ball well on offense in this game. They're just way too banged up. How many times can you give the ball to Austin Eckler? So I'm going to, with that being said, I'm not going to touch the line because I think 7 points is too much. But what I will say, because they will not be able to move the ball all that well, San Francisco's offense will be on the field a lot. That being said, Christian McCaffrey, I saw this number, over 119 and a half total rushing and receiving yards. Smash. Don't even think twice about it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The only thing I disagree here, I do have the LA Chargers to actually win this thing, and they're getting 7 points right now. So you have a team, and this is just betting 101. You have a team, first of all, you did the math and whatever. I'm talking to someone out there like they're doing notes right now. So A, you have a team to win, and B, you look, and oh my God, the team I already have projected to win is getting points. You love to see that. The one thing that I love about this game is I think it's going to be neck and neck. We're talking like under a minute. San Francisco's driving and they just need a field goal to tie this thing. And Jimmy G does, I don't want to say does something stupid or silly, but hey, tipped pass or just a straight interception for Jimmy G to the Los Angeles Chargers DST, and the Chargers wind up winning this thing 30-27. And also, if I may say that, the over-under in this one is like 46.5. Really odd kind of number, a 6 and a half at the end here. So to me, the over is a great move, right? 30-27. Doing the quick math, that's 57 points, well over 46.5. Give me the Chargers +7 in this one. And what about the fact, Josh Palmer or DeAndre Carter? Keenan Allen has already been out. Jalen Guyton had just had constructive knee surgery the other day. As you said, Austin Eckler can only do so much. He does a lot, but I think Justin Herbert is a great bet for a pair of touchdowns. And if you want to, and it's Friday night, as I said a million times, if you want to put Justin Herbert 3 or more touchdown passes, I wouldn't be mad at you given the fact I have the Chargers to win and hang 30 points.
All right, we're going to go through 2 more games. We're going to touch on them really quickly because we're going a little bit late, and I don't want to keep you too long. So just quickly, just a quick note about this game. Arizona against the LA Rams. They're on the road. Arizona is. The LA Rams are 3-point favorites. Now, I know that Cliff Kingsbury, his owner is Sean McVay. However, without Stafford, the potential of being without Stafford, and it's just, and I mean, LA just looks so bad. They look horrible. I'm tempted. Again, I'm tempted, but Arizona is on my blacklist. I do not bet on Arizona anymore. I've been bitten by them by too many times, but I'm so close. I'm so close to breaking that blacklist just because of how bad LA looked against the Tampa Bay Bucks last week.
Yeah, I have to be fair. I'll be quick. Quick is not in my vocabulary. I'm very wordy. I think that's why Tony and I got along so well. We talked forever about just not the Flintstones. I don't know if anybody caught the broadcast, but when you look at the Arizona and the Rams, I have Arizona to win by exactly 4 points. So that covers the point spread here. Arizona to win this one 21-17. Stafford looks bad news. I mean, what are they doing in their backfield with their running backs? They kind of oust this guy and Cam Akers. They couldn't trade him, and the team looks like a sucker. Cam Akers comes back. He does nothing. Stafford is not using his wide receivers. Van Jefferson, one of, not the premier, but this kid is good at a few things. One of them is go routes and catching long balls, and he hasn't been targeted for like 2 weeks in a row now. So give me Arizona to win this one. And by the way, this might help you. Arizona 10-4 against the spread, their last 14 games on the road. So I'm going to give you the okay. Remove them from the blacklist. Take Arizona minus the points. We're going to be okay.
Now, this next one is going to be our last one. I find it super, super interesting because I don't view the Green Bay Packers as bad as everyone thinks they are. And, this is an interesting one because you're a Detroit Lions fan. So let's keep a level head here, just as I do when I talk Ravens, Steelers, Browns. Now, I just think the Green Bay Packers have been incredibly unlucky. Just like there has to be regression at some point in the red zone turnovers. They're second in run efficiency, in run success rate, excuse me. So just I'm again, just after what I saw them being able to do against Buffalo and keeping it close in the way that they did and cover that spread, it's way smaller. It opened at 5.5. Now it's at 4. It moved a lot. So I mean, 4 might be a little too close for comfort, but I'm curious to get your take on where you view this game and how you view, because I feel like everyone's going to be on the Dallas Cowboys. At least all the public money is going to be on the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, and last I looked, the sharps are kind of leaning that way too, which paints a story. So again, if you'd like to, you could. There's some real money to be made with the Packers. I'm just not seeing it, right? And to be fair, Green Bay and Dallas, that's a long time story to history. Both NFC, they play one. Green Bay plays in the north, Dallas plays in the east here. But get this one: the road team is 4-0 against the spread. The last 4 times this team has met, Green Bay 1-5 against the spread. Their last six. And when we look at this, we can throw out, ATS and straight up and over unders and all that. You said maybe there's the red zone turnovers. Maybe that something's got to happen. They're unlucky. What about the fact that Aaron Rodgers has been a thorn in the Lions side and a thorn in the NFC North side for so long? Is it over for him? Has the narcissism and ego completely eaten his brain and he can't even focus on the field? So to me, you said keep a level head, and here I go putting Aaron Rodgers down. But hey, wouldn't be the first time. Probably not going to be the last time. But I have Dallas to be fair with you, Matt, run away with this thing. I think they double them up. We're looking at like 28-14, and maybe late in the game, Dallas kicks a field goal, 31-14, something like that. So I'm taking Dallas minus the points. And to be fair, I would even tease Dallas minus 10 points if you wanted to. I have them winning by 14 or more. So tease it to 12.5, 13, and whatever you want to do. But Dallas, I think doubles them up, and we can put the Green Bay to the playoffs, relax. We could put all that to bed. They're done. They're out. And no offense to Green Bay Packers fans. They're great people, but it's over. It's over for Aaron Rodgers.
well, that's it. You said it right there, is that this is their season, this game, because frankly, the NFC it's pretty wide open in terms of, wild card teams being able to make it in. So this game is their season. I think they'll come out with some jump. This is why I don't have the stones to take Green Bay with the points, because at the end, I do think Dallas, they'll get that running game going. And once that happens, Rashad Gary's out. You don't got much of a chance unless Aaron Rodgers returns to pre-ayahuasca days. So
I forgot I just heard that like last week, and I noticed he made a lot of off-season broadcast. He was on Joe Rogan. Yeah. He was on the Bussin' It with the Boys, and I'm not used to seeing Aaron Rodgers, just sitting around on a broadcast, but he looked not himself, very gaunt, and I didn't know he took ayahuasca, supposed to be a spiritual experience, but hey, what do I know? I'm not Aaron Rodgers, and I'm sure as heck not a professional football quarterback.
Well, that's it. So, Chris, just tell us, before I let you go, tell us a little bit about what you do and where we could find your work.
Yeah, first and foremost, I've been given the golden opportunity to join the family here at the Sick Podcast, and I'm a huge Red Wings fan. I'm a huge hockey guy, so I lead the cause here on the Red Wings Sick Podcast. And to be fair, I'm sure I watched the broadcast before I hopped on. You both were talking hockey and all that, and the Wings look to be, on the right path, growing and trending up here. So every Sunday afternoon, I get together and we talk hockey. I go over the week that was, what's going on right now, and we look ahead to the following week, and it's been pretty great, and it's so fun, looking and following a team with the GM like Yzerman, who I idolized as a kid growing up here on the east side of Detroit. So doing this Sick Red Wings podcast is like a dream come true. It's not even like work. I don't wake up and go, man, I got to wake up and I got to talk about that. It's all sunshine and rainbows right now, thankfully. We went through the stormy weather and boom, here we are off and running. And the rest of my stuff is on my Twitter at Detroit Beastie. I talk betting trends, DFS, single game NFL slates, videos and all that. So I love DFS. I love some sports betting, and I love everything Detroit, specifically the Red Wings and unfortunately the Lions. But hey, what are you going to do? It's in that Honolulu blue and silver is in my blood, Matthew. Thanks for having me. What a blast.
Chris, it's been a pleasure, and we'll do this again sometime. Thanks for joining us.
Anytime. Thank you.
All right. So the Sick Podcast brought to you by Playground. Playground has over 600 machines, poker tournaments, and Playground casino games, daily promotions, and unmatched customer service. Why go anywhere else? Located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes away from downtown Montreal. All right. It's that time. It's time for Sick Picks.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Betway.
All right, the Sick Picks are presented by Betway. Click the link in the YouTube description to sign up. You must be 19 years old or older to play. Please play responsibly. All right, I went 5-0 last week. The pressure's on. Again, this is one of those things where I'm very insecure about my picks. Every time I give my picks publicly, I always think, all right, here we go. Now's the time that I'm going to be a loser. Anyways, we spoke about a couple of them. So I'm going to roll with the Steelers at +1.5. I'm taking that and I'm running with it because, again, Mike Tomlin, I said it before, I say it again, 15-3-3 as a career home dog against a pretty bad New Orleans Saints team. So we're taking the Steelers +1.5. Denver and Tennessee. We're going to go under 39 points. And like I said with Chris, you're taking your biggest hammer and you're throwing it down on that. It's not even, I can't conceive a way in my mind that this game goes over 39 points. 39 points isn't a lot. And hey, maybe the Broncos put it together and Russell Wilson's going to be listening to this and he's going to, it's going to light a fire under his butt and, he's going to take over and he's going to show me that I'm wrong and that I'm an idiot and all that. But until that happens, we're fading the Denver Broncos. The unders constantly hit in their games. The unders are constantly hitting in Tennessee Titan games. We're going under 39 points. Another one, Seattle +2.5. Vegas sportsbooks usually get it right. I can't put this one together. I don't know why Tampa Bay is favored. Tampa Bay outgained LA last week by a significant margin. Oh, it just so happened that Tampa Bay also ran 79 plays, and it took them 79 plays to get just over 300 yards of total offense. Ridiculous. Give me Seattle. They're a competent football team. They're 6-3. They look good. Give me Seattle. I think they're winning this game outright, but just to be safe, we're going to take them +2.5. If you could find them at +3, take them. Definitely, if you're on the fence about 2.5. Definitely take him at +3 if you see that. The next one, Saquon Barkley over 94.5 yards. Again, another smash. Take out a hammer and throw it down on this one. If you want to take out your biggest hammer on this one, I wouldn't blame you either. Just this Houston Texans run D is horrific. It is so bad. And, Miles Sanders is a great running back. He's not rushing for 12 yards average, between 12 and 7 yards per carry average. Good. He was that good last week against this Houston Texans defense. Give me Saquon all day. And like Chris said, I wouldn't be shocked if he went over 200 yards from scrimmage, 2 touchdowns, 25 carries minimum. He actually piqued my interest. I'm going to actually throw in 25 carries on Saquon in my existing parlay with Saquon on it. The last one I'm taking is Christian McCaffrey over 119.5 total rushing and receiving yards combined, because that Chargers run defense is almost, not quite, but almost as bad as that Houston Texans run defense. So give me Christian McCaffrey all day. I don't see Jimmy G stretching the field in this game. It's dump offs to Christian McCaffrey, his new best friend. And I just think it's a Christian McCaffrey game. And that's good for me because I got both those guys in my fantasy football team that nobody cares about, but I mentioned it anyways. As for the Habs, I don't really have a pick for you because, Detroit played, so the odds aren't really out, but Tristan Jarry, I like Tristan Jarry. This isn't a part of my sick picks, but I'm going to talk Habs in if you're going to throw a wager on them. Detroit's coming off a back-to-back. Tristan Jarry's in net. He's really good. Hesitant to pick a winner because the Habs are on a 2-game win streak and Pittsburgh looks good. But hey, if the game is at 6.5 like it was last week against Vegas, the goal line, take the under. Just the under. It's a gut feeling. The Canadiens goaltenders have been fantastic. They're on a couple days rest now. They played a back-to-back earlier in the week. And, it's Pittsburgh. If they're going to hang around and they're going to dominate that game, I'm expecting whoever it may be, either Jake Allen or Samuel Montembeault, to carry the load and keep the Canadiens in that game. So to sum up, we got Steelers +1.5, Denver against Tennessee, under 39 points. Seattle, plus 2.5 points. Saquon Barkley, over 94.5 rushing yards. And Christian McCaffrey, over 119.5 total rushing and receiving yards combined. Just quickly before we end the show, quick shout out to my friend Matt Ohayon, who is getting married tomorrow night to Carrie Wallace. Carrie Wallace, childhood friend of mine. Matt Ohayon, been a best friend of mine for years. Very happy and excited to celebrate with you guys tomorrow night. That's it for me. Tony's back on Monday. Peace.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different, 8.6, intense by nature, and La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the cup, it's time you went back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you.